St. Paul, the Fan.
Back to the Friday Football Feast momentarily, but if you were listening to the Power Trip Morning Show, you heard about a big release coming up on Monday at 10 a.m. You also heard that Meat Sauce Paul Lambert can't effectively read emails, and he nearly screwed the entire thing up. But I'm talking about our buddies at Unreal. This is their third year doing a collaboration with the Minnesota Vikings, and they have a brand new hoodie that drops Monday at 10 a.m. You know these things sell out so damn quickly, so get on it when you can, while you can. Monday morning, 10 a.m. It is absolutely gorgeous, and I can't wait to actually wear it on Monday when I'm supposed to, unlike Saucy. But get to unreal.co, that is UNRL.co, and make sure to be there Monday at 10 for the big release.
Never missing a beat, yeah. Boy, was it neat, yeah. Not just neat, but she was totally neat when she did the freak with me. Never missing a beat, yeah. Boy, was it neat, yeah.
Got to be careful with Johnny Pecker.
Never misses a beat, yeah, yeah. Just neat, but she was totally neat when she did the freak with me.
Here comes the FVP Batteries Marathon segment, courtesy of FVPparts.com. FVP Batteries, thank you very much for marathon-related sponsorship, 9 to noon. And charging the Friday Football Feast from Buffalo Wild Wings, Elk River. Nordo produces back at FM 100.3, KFAN. Man to my left is J-Dub, Jared Wells. To the right, Paul Charchian. Street team's over there doing its thing. And Tractor Talkbacks, don't forget to leave those at the free iHeartRadio app. Today's the final day that we are giving away Monday Night Football tickets. Got a couple of them for the Vikings and the Chicago Bears, November 27th. So, let me hit a fantasy feast question quickly.
Sure.
Because I like in the toll story you put together, Paul Charchi and GuillotineLeagues.com. I like the "Who is Josh Dobbs" part and the aviation or aeronaut. What was it?
He's an aerospace engineer.
Yeah, well, that's
which,
it.
You know,
a brain surgery not available in college.
Yeah, exactly right. You're a kid growing up, and half of the class wants to be a football player when they grow up. Half the class wants to be an astronaut when they grow up. He's both. I mean, that's like it's a 1 in a million to be either one. And, here we are with Josh Dobbs as an aerospace engineer who interned at NASA.
Okay, now fantasy, from a feast fantasy standpoint.
Yeah.
Now, it hasn't been in the Vikings running game an embarrassment of riches this year. Buffalo Wild Wings. Hey, against the Green Bay Packers, the Minnesota Vikings got their first rushing touchdown of the season. All right, so, we have a super special one, and the Falcons have allowed one rushing touchdown all year, which is the fewest in the National Football League.
Yep.
So, as the feast fantasy portion of the equation would go, bench the Minnesota Vikings running game is what you are encouraging?
I am. Because of the split, they split time, and they were basically alternated series.
I'm going to hit you with something.
Yeah.
The quarterback on the boot inside the 10. It's a new thing. Well, I'm not saying it's a new thing, or am I? But I'm
okay. I don't know what you're saying right now.
The quarterback on the bootleg with the legs inside the red zone, the 20 inside the 10.
Yeah.
But then that would require in a guillotine league where if you have a lot of chances taken like that and they don't work out, you start Jaron Hall because Paul said he's going to boot for a touchdown inside the 10. You could be headless by, seriously, 3:45 in the afternoon. You know what I mean?
Yes. That would be a very high risk
So
move.
just bet. Plus Akers and Madison, you can't figure out who's going to get what, when, and why.
Yes.
And then now Ty Chandler, your guy's out on the edge using that 4-3. So, yeah, I agree with you.
Can we just give Ty Chandler a few more carries? I mean, I know this is like every week I say it, Paul, but just given what we're getting out of Akers and Madison, can we just manufacture 5 touches a game for Ty Chandler and just see if we don't get a spark we're not getting right now?
Now, you're obsessed with that.
I am.
Holy cow!
I know. I know. I need to let it go.
But it's nice as a mixer. So again, it's a copycat league. All right. And that's overly cliched, but it's fact. And that's why something started happening with the West Coast offense, and then the power running and vertical passing meshed into the West Coast, and now you got hybrid offenses. And somebody told me many months ago, this Vikings defense, how would you describe it? It's a 3-4 hybrid with floaters. Like, what the sounds? Well, that sounds like a stakes race at Thistledown in Cleveland. What the hell is this? 2 nuns and a goat got off a train in Cleveland. And okay, so just things are different now. I don't have confirmation the Vikings do this, but there is. With the way the 49ers run the ball, the Rams kind of run the ball like the 49ers, and the Vikings kind of have the wide zone and some 49er-esque things that they do with their running game, just from a schematic standpoint.
Right.
But last year when the Vikings were thrashed on Monday Night Football by the Eagles, you had Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, and Boston Scott.
Yeah.
And I left that game, the number one thing that resonated with me is and the quarterback runs. So you're going to have fresh legs in the fourth quarters of key games, and with these runners because of the way they split it up. And the way they carve it up with those 4. All right, well, now, we kind of low-key have 4. Where, okay, Alex can run, Cam can run, Ty can run.
And now our quarterback.
Well, the quarterback can run.
Ah.
Well, now all of a sudden you have deception, and the lady over there is looking at me like, is this story ever going to have a point? Yeah, it's you have deception and unpredictability on your side, so take advantage of it. Damn it.
Well, that would be great. And by the way, Josh Dobbs will bring you, if it goes to Josh Dobbs after Hall, he brings you a lot of mobility at the quarterback position as well.
Well, interesting that you would bring that up, because a dear friend of mine who's the identity of fantasy football, not only in the upper Midwest, but the universe. He's MTV, BET, and SCTV. He's Paul Charch from GuillotineLeagues.com. Josh Dobbs, the who, what, where, when, and why. Go on and take it away.
Yeah, let's learn a little bit about Josh Dobbs, because his story is pretty darn interesting. We mentioned already, interned at NASA, aerospace engineer, super smart guy, went to Pitt, I believe, for college. Selected in the 4th round by the Steelers, 2017. He's been a journeyman, although Pittsburgh had him at the start of his career. Went some other place, brought him back, which is usually a good sign.
He was with Cleveland at one point.
He was. He had like half a season with Cleveland.
On the practice squad.
Probably didn't get a start there, but Stefanski, I think, was there then.
Yeah, 100%.
He's 1-9 as a starter, but in fairness, 8 of those starts with this bad Arizona team that nobody expected to win games, and his one win was a legitimate signature win.
Dallas?
He beat Dallas.
Yeah.
And Dallas was undefeated at the time and had just hammered like 3 straight opponents, and then he engineered the big upset.
And aside, you're right about Arizona. Nobody counted on anything. There were rumors or people purporting into the season. This team's just going to tank and set it up and get for a quarterback, get rid of Kyler, stuff like that. Well, I've been low key from afar impressed at how close Arizona has managed to keep games.
Yep.
And secondly, when a team pushes that button as like an 8 to 15 point favorite against AZ and they open up 10, 11, 12, 13, they're laissez-faire. They're like, okay, that's it. The squad sucks. But they come back fast and they score fast, and to get back in it and just like give you something to think about. So I think from afar, Jonathan Gann is doing a decent job there.
I think he's done a better job than most expected. And for Dobbs, so he gets demoted to 3rd string, but really, it wasn't so much based on his play. It was the fact that Kyler Murray was coming back. They're showcasing Kyler Murray for the rest of this season because they want to get out of that deal.
Yeah.
So they want their hope organizationally is Kyler plays well enough that we can get some team to bite on getting us off the hook on his $250 million contract.
Wow. And it's interesting you said that, because with the quarterbacks set to come out in the draft, and I'm not hearing as much about as many of them as I did a few months ago. It's like where it's 2020, greatest wide receiver draft ever, and then you're going to be able to get the Darnell Mooney of quarterbacks in the 5th round ever.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not hearing like the depth of it anymore, but it's what we read, what we know, what we hear. that there's a handful or more who will start, and there are a few in here who people think are going to do incredibly well.
Yeah.
Well, it's for the team that's picking in the weird spot and doesn't want to give up every single thing to get up there and get the North Carolina kid or Caleb Williams or Bo Nix or No Bix, whatever his name is. If somebody bites on the Kyler piece, now the money comes with it, which is a problem.
Yes.
I mean, do you think that would remedy a problem? If somebody like here it is, we've been waiting for Kyler all of our lives. We know he's coming off an injury, looked pretty good last year.
Yeah.
Still running 4-3, 4-4. It's a run pass option's a thing with him. Would you, with the contract, the player, and the person off an injury, would you trade for him?
Absolutely not.
I want nothing to do
with Kyler Murray. But they're going to showcase him and try to find somebody who bites, right? Because Arizona's going to pick at the very top of the draft, first 5 picks. I believe they're going to go quarterback with that pick, regardless of whether Kyler Murray's on the roster or not. I think internally they don't trust him unless Kyler shocks us this second half of the season here.
I think management for the Arizona Cardinals is looking at what's happening with the Las Vegas Raiders and saying, guys, let's not forget this. Mark Davis is going pear-shaped. So there are things wrong there. They're apoplectic. Let's go after them right after the season and see if they want Kyler.
That's right. The target for Kyler is probably not a team that's going to be in the top 10 picks of the draft.
Yeah.
To your point, it's some team that's in the bottom third of the draft but still needs a quarterback
and has money.
Can't afford to move all the way up and a little cap space to get Kyler. Yeah. So it'll be tricky. They had to clean out the entire front office in Arizona over the last 18 months.
The Keim bit
turned out to be really rancid. A lot of accusations of various sorts and even illegal stuff and all kinds of things. So they've got a whole new front office that I think does not want Kyler Murray. And so Josh Dobbs really didn't play so badly that he should have been demoted down to third string. It's just this team has got a whole different orientation, and Josh Dobbs was keeping them competitive. They're not really interested in competitive football. They're interested in shopping Kyler Murray, and then also finding out if this Clayton Tune, the kid looked pretty good in the preseason. They might want to give him some reps and see if he's a possible solution going forward as well.
And the quest for I would believe the Kwesi quest, or also the quest period for copycat league quarterback model. Everybody wants Jalen Hurts. So everybody wants the passing quarterback with the thick upper body and the thick legs, and so therefore you've minimized injury risk when he runs because he's just bigger and stronger, and where like Kyler's more sleight of frame
for sure,
and he can throw. So everybody wants that. Dobbs and Hall, they're in the same fishbowl as like a Hurts. I mean, they're obviously under different rocks. Might be some guppies swimming around there, and Jalen's a shark, but they're both passing quarterbacks who run. Now, when I watch, and I need to watch more because the Dobbs game against the Ravens probably is not the greatest thing in the history of the world to watch.
Well, Ravens are really good
when you're just learning about somebody. But it's within his first 3 or 4 plays, they did the run pass option. And he sprinted out to. And he's fast. He sprinted out to the right, made a guy miss, and got himself 6'8", whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I don't think we've run the RPO here in 18 years. But I mean, maybe they got a day to put it in or something,
Yes, he's Dobbs is mobile. He's top 26 rushing yards in 7 of his 10 career starts. And you should use that as an advantage. He doesn't have that thick build that we like in Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts, but still, more of a wiry guy. But he's got that as a tool in his toolkit or whatever. Let's use it.
Right.
I'm not worried about him getting hurt. I think it's a bit of a fallacy to think that quarterbacks are in way more danger of getting tackled on a running play than they are getting blindsided in the pocket.
But see, like Kyler Murray, I remember a few years ago, he was running more than ever, and in like week 8, 9, or 10, he took a hit that like made him limited or missing practice, but he was playing. But he stopped running as much as he was running, simply because of that hit. But he's slighter of frame, than Jalen's thicker than him. And I mean, Lamar Jackson, it's like if Lamar could get up to 67, 68% completions and he could be accurate outside the numbers, intermediate or deep, he'd be unbeatable. I mean, because seriously, he does not go down on first hit. He's unbelievably fast, and he does enough in the passing game, obviously, to give them a chance. But if he just had that passing, that's the body type I'm talking about, where if you're going to be a running quarterback who can throw a little, then be built like Lamar.
Yeah, Lamar's still a little bit bigger, I think, than Josh Dobbs is, but
Lamar's massive.
Yeah, he's not Josh Allen massive and thick, but he's still big enough to absorb some more of those hits.
Yep.
Dobbs has gotten better over time. Looking back through his 10-game resume, his biggest and best passing output has been more recently. He's thrown multiple touchdowns in 3 of the past 5 games, and the deep ball passing is actually pretty good. His passer rating on deep passes is 100,
nice,
which is great. That puts him in like the top half of the league on deep balls.
Not Hollywood Brown, but who's the Wilson he's throwing to?
Michael Wilson.
Oh, it's Michael?
Yeah, third-round draft pick.
He's a rookie?
Yeah, he's a rookie.
Yeah, he's put up some good games.
He has.
Wow, he's been in guillotine leagues. He's been a waiver wire conundrum because, like, when he's there, you get him, and it's 2 catches for 18 yards,
right.
Now you're bored with him because you got to go get Deontay Johnson or Brandon Cook. Because you got buys or whatever.
Right.
And then Wilson is 6 for 130 and 1, and you go get him again, and he has functioning chop ability for a team just the minute he puts on his cleats.
So my hope with Dobbs is he can retain some of the downfield passing that Kirk Cousins gave you with the very lively arm that he had.
Yeah.
And Jordan Addison, such a great downfield threat. I want to keep some of the vertical in this offense.
Yeah.
If we do get to Josh Dobbs, for Jaron Hall, I don't think is going to be that guy. Dobbs can be, and I think that's going to be one of the things that'll be an advantage if he does end up under center.
I want to say, because I do believe it, but I mean, I just don't. It's not it's not an 8, 8.2, 8.7 out of 10. But I don't think. I think Jaron Hall is going to play every game.
Wow.
I think Jaron is going to show enough. Well, here's the deal. They have the bye in a month, okay? So now with the bye, the bye is after the Bears game. So you go at Atlanta, you got Nolans here, then you go to Denver for Sunday Night Football, then the Bears here for Monday Night Football. So you get the bye. Well, the coaches get a little downtime too, and especially that late in the season, so there's that time. Then it's the self-scouting, the tear down your own bit, tells, takes, talkers, tendencies, and tractor talkbacks.
Yeah.
So they figure all of that out. Then they get the plan ready for the final X amount of games. I'm just not sure because the backup quarterback does so little when it comes to schematically getting ready with what you're running during the course of practice, running the scout team. So Josh Dobbs or Sean Mannion, Dobbs maybe, is Heineke this week. And, Tristan Jackson over there is Drake London.
Yeah.
And Nick Muse is Kyle Pitts, with the number 8. So I'm sure he's going to study hard. You've laid it out where clearly it seems like he has a chance to become a scholar of the game. I shared this week where Grant Udinsky, the assistant quarterbacks coach, when I'm out there on Fridays to interview KOC, Jaron Hall and the assistant quarterbacks coach, they're out there for over an hour. After Friday practice, everybody's leaving. They got their food containers to go. They're going to go home and chill and then get ready to fly or play on Sunday. And Jaron and Udinsky, do a ton of work without the football.
Yeah.
It's just take the hands, put the hands here, spin this way, plant this way. All stuff he knows, but it's just you can tell they're making a quick twitch and muscle memory. So I would imagine Dobbs will now be that guy Fridays and other days, just kind of going full throttle on the plan. But I think for some reason I think Jaron Hall's going to play the rest of the game.
All right, so feel free to answer this however you want.
And I might be wrong, of course.
Yeah, we really don't know. But I love your optimism. What do you want to see from Jaron Hall to make him the starter next week? What would happen here in this game that would make you say, "Yep, you're our guy.
Yeah.
You're our guy against the Saints"?
Yeah.
By the way, really good pass defense coming there too.
You don't need 250 or 275 or more.
Right.
But you can't have a 160. All right. And the team's gotten good the last couple on third downs. The team has gotten good the last couple with time of possession.
Yeah.
So the things like Addison down the field for 60 and change, that'd be great. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And I'm not saying that they're not going to take deep shots, because I believe they will. But first and foremost, with what you are doing increasingly well now, it can't go from a 10 to a 2. It can go from a 10 to a 6 or a 10 to a 5.5 in the very first game.
Yeah.
But if you're constantly behind the chains, as they say in the business, and it's 2nd and 8 and 3rd and 7, just avoid those moments and just stay as relaxed and poised in the pocket as I saw you were when you found Hawkinson to win the game against Green Bay. I mean, I think the kid's chill. I mean, I think the kid is very flatline, and that only will help. So those would be a couple. What about you?
I think poise is one of the key things. I want to see a kid that looks like the moment's not too big for him.
Yes.
That looks like a leader out there and the key thing I think that gives Jaron Hall to start against the Saints is turnovers. If he can play turnover-free football, I might live with that 180-yard box score.
Yeah.
If you didn't give the game away with bad passes.
Well, again, we have such a small sample size, because I'm not going to go back to what he did at BYU in the middle of a National Football League season where you don't even have the best player on offense. So there are things like, before the first game against Tampa Bay, there are things happening now that we could not have predicted at that time, like Dalton Reisner starting to left guard. No, by the way, Ezra's not here. Why isn't Ezra here? Because Chris Reed is healthy, and they may feel every bit as good about Chris as they do Ezra at a cheaper price.
Yep.
Then the running game, impotent as it mostly has been. Cousins out, JJ out. We couldn't predict any of that. So, it's with how he handled himself at Brigham Young. I mean, that's so starkly different than what's coming at him this weekend. So really, we have preseason, some things that I or we will see in training camp or practice, and then that Green Bay game. And there were a couple of stress-related plays, man, where I just feel he did the right thing. And the one was the play action where Akers ran to the left, nobody bid on the play action. Jaron spins and heads to the right. Well, I can't remember the beefeater. I think it was one of those two rookies just up on him, just ran straight at the spot because they weren't respecting the play action.
Yep.
Jaron took a longer route farther into the end zone because he's fast enough to do that. If Kirk does that, it might be a safety.
Right.
And then he found Osborne for 2. Okay, even little things like that are so key. Why? Because he kept his poise. He didn't freak out. And the freak out factor will foil everybody at the wrong time, specifically in the National Football League. And then there was another play, was backpedaling, and he threw off his back foot. It looked like he was doing the moonwalk from the end zone. And he threw left, but he threw it into a spot where A, it wouldn't be intentional grounding, or B, nobody could get it in green and gold. So just those 2 in the sample size show poise. And that's, really, where else can you hope to start?
That's, so I want to believe he's built for the moment. The whole thing won't be too big for him. And let's not give the game away, and then let's go see what we got against the Saints. And maybe with Justin Jefferson at your disposal against New Orleans.
I'm not sure. I saw the report. I wouldn't bet that, but nevertheless, I wouldn't bet a lot against him. 9 to noon continues around the corner. We have the cash thing coming up. Don't forget Tractor Talkback's free iHeartRadio app. Those of you working in a tractor, leave a message. And a message of any sort. Could be about Vikings football, what you're doing during the course of the day, or what you're going to do over the weekend. And Monday Night Football tickets will be housed at the end of the radio show. And around the corner, more football conversation following Nordo and the cash thing and the Pitten piece on KFAN.
Hell yeah, the Fan and 2 men in a junk truck. They want to give you a shot to put $1,000 in your hand with the National Cash Contest. Go to KFAN.com, enter the keyword bank, and you might bank $1,000. Go to KFAN.com, enter the keyword bank. Here's Patton.
Time now for the Vikings Report. Presented by the Minnesota Lottery. Play the new Vikings scratch game for a chance to win up to $100,000. Vikings assistant coach Mike Pettin joins PA after this.
Lottery. I'm in.
Coach Pettin, what do you like about KJ Osborne's game? And he seems willing to mix it up in the run game.
Yeah, I think anytime you play in the shadow of a Justin Jefferson, it's easy to get overlooked. And I think a lot of people have realized what a quality receiver KJ is. You know, he works hard to get open. You know, he's very studious, has a good understanding of what defenses are trying to do to him. And he's shown that he has big play capability. And in regards to the blocking part, I mean, if you want success running the football, the wideouts have to be an integral part of the run game. And I know that's a big point of pride in Keenan McCardell's room, and particularly with KJ.
Who just as an aside, who are some of the best run blocking receivers you've seen through your 22 years coaching in the NFL? Because I have an opinion.
Well, I've seen some good ones over that time. You know, in the league currently, St. Brown in Detroit, Robert Woods, I think, has been known for a long time. As a quality blocker. Alan Lazard is someone I had, front seat view to him. Looking back, Larry Fitzgerald has always been known for his physicality. But for me, by far, and I'm sure a lot of other people, Hines Ward sticks out.
You got two of my three.
Above everybody else. I was in Baltimore for 7 years. I mean, we had some classic heavyweight fights with the Steelers, and he was at the center of every one. So the ultimate antagonist, could get underneath everybody's skin, and it was something he obviously took great pride in. I mean, he was always smiling about it, and he'd make a great hockey instigator. I know that, but he's a classic example of somebody. If he's on your team, you absolutely love him.
Yeah,
and if he's not on your team, you absolutely despise him.
Yeah, I might be able to beat Angelico at all-time Baltimore Orioles, outside Lambeau Field after a victory. But beating you in the history of the best run-blocking receivers, I mean, the only one that I had that you didn't mention, Anquan Boldin. Anquan Boldin, nasty in the run game. All right, lastly for Friday, then back to the feast, Buffalo Wild Wings, Elk River. Even though Cousins won't be playing, how can he help whomever the quarterbacks are moving forward?
Well, Kirk has such a high football IQ. I mean, he's essentially been an extension of KO, a coach on the field in a lot of aspects. So he'll be a tremendous resource in the quarterback room. I mean, he's always been a preparation junkie, which is contagious to the rest of the room. I mean, they essentially have to do it. So knowing him, he'll do everything he can to help our offense be successful.
Touchdown, untouched!
I mean, pick your poison with that defense.
9 to noon.
This is a great setup, Bob.
Good stuff.
Just listen. Personal foul. Clipping.
Second half of the 9 to noon radio show from Buffalo Wild Wings, Elk River. Hey, man, hey! Time! This is a very lively, festive bunch today, and for that we thank you. I mean, this is a happy bunch here.
Oh, God. It is rocking.
Cow.
You bet.
Let's see if they're still in tune. Hold on. Hey, in the back room, are you still there? There they are.
All right.
Around the corner, though. Oh, that's pretty sweet, man. Thank you very much for coming out. We do greatly appreciate it. And the Friday Football Feast rolls on up to 11 o'clock, where Gabe Henderson from Vikings.com will join us to give us his thoughts on the Vikings and the Atlanta Falcons and new quarterbacks and Jaron Hall and things like that. And just exactly what we're getting into for the final 9 games of the season with Jefferson on the horizon. This quarterback at quarterback for now. Dalton Reisner, the left guard for the rest of the season, unless he gets hurt. And a defense where they're just, the more I watch it, man, and I'm sure I've seen it before, but I've just never really paid attention to it. They just do so many unconventional things at certain times of games that it's working. And who am I to say it's not going to work the rest of the year? But here's what I mean when I say unconventional. I don't mean like, well, wow, you knew they were going to run and you stopped it with 3 in the box. How did you do that? What I mean is, like something. Just take, when you're watching games back or when you're watching them live. It because you got to follow the ball and root for Ryan Matthews and Damian Pierce and Rob Gronkowski.
You're playing back my greatest hits
to take off and have big games. So
yeah.
I get that. That's the fantasy bent in my dear friend. But just take a look at the defensive line for the Minnesota Vikings right before the snap, and just what changes with one guy down on the right side, 3-point stance. He's never been there.
Yeah.
And Daniil standing up in the middle. Then he floats over to the left. And Harrison's 20 yards from the line of scrimmage. And he goes full throttle sprint up to the line, then stops. There's just so much window dressing.
Yeah.
And, well, hello there, ladies. Holy cow. You're just right up on the announcer, aren't you? It's okay. So there's so much window dressing and just so much subterfuge.
Yeah.
But there are two things that I saw in the game against the Packers that I just hadn't really noticed during the course of the season. Patrick Jones, as it turns out, I hear does this a lot. So in Copyright Diego, the Pitten piece, or Mike Pettin, the assistant head coach, when I talk to him about Patrick Jones, who has 0 sacks, he'll say, and it can be cliche, where they're trying to protect people, and they're like, well, he impacts the game in ways that
aren't box score ways. Yeah,
well, he's right. He's not lying, because I've heard it enough times now, and now I've seen it enough times where, in that Packers game, man. So Patrick Jones is mugging the A gap, okay, and then he moves over to the right a little bit, and he's down. Okay, he's down 3. Then he goes 3-point stance. Then he stands up. Okay, Harrison Phillips moves from, I don't know what technique shade it would be, but he's to the left, and he moves between the right guard and the center. There's the snap. Okay, now Jordan Love's looking at all this. He's like, I can't say I've seen that one before, okay? Ready! And then he takes the snap. And Patrick Jones takes 2 steps and fakes like he's busting ass into the backfield. Stops, runs to his left into Harrison Phillips' guy purposely, and Phillips loops around and forces Love to throw it early. Not the first in the history of the game to do that. I understand it. I just haven't seen it a lot when there are basically just 2 players and nobody around them because other guys are doing different things. So I'm like, that's cool. Late in the game. So you're Jordan Love, and you break the huddle. You're down by 14. You're trying to make a run here. Get out of the huddle, and before you're like, ready! You're like, 55? Who are you? It's Andre Carter, undrafted from Army, hadn't played a second the entire game. We have him blitzing 3 plays in a row with the game, late in the game.
Yeah.
And nobody was hurt. So you're like the quarterback, you're Purdy, you're Love, you're Fields, you're Bagent, you're whomever. Things like that are developing where, as Pettin and I discussed the other day, recording the Pitten piece, is that really is the beauty of what you can do when everybody is on the same page with the tricks.
Yeah.
You got to be on the same page with the tricks before you can get the treats. And I've seen Harrison sprint up to the line of scrimmage, Smith, so many times and just stop. And then lurk. And just there's a tight end coming there and he knows it. So he's going to stop and he's going to lurk and just take away the area. It's the most unconventional defense that I have ever been next to in all my years.
Well, that's saying a lot when we had Mike Zimmer here for 9 years. How long?
Yeah.
8 years?
Yeah, and Zimmer's one of the great defensive coaches in the history of the NFL for sure, but that was predicated so much on the mugging of the A-gap and whether Kendricks and or Barr are coming or not, and then Harrison, Smith may come once every 2 years, but it's an effective time. Zimmer's a lead at what he does. But this is an amoeba, man. I mean, this is a 3-4 hybrid with floaters. What the hell is this?
It's what it is unpredictable, Paul. And coming from Ed Donatel, where we looked at it, the pre-snap look was virtually identical every play. This is so much fun to watch, play in and play out, because pre-snap you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And if you're Brian Flores, who wants to bring this, what a treat to have Harrison Smith at your disposal.
Oh, yeah, and Jordan Hicks.
Great point.
Yeah,
and
those
Jordan
two, you're so right, and I've been told that multiple times, not for a while, but you're so right. Those two they got the bit within the first week and a half of OTAs. So now they get the bit, and the bit begets the bit. So they can teach it, and then somebody else teaches it to others, because it's another thing is the unpredictability of it is Andrew Booth Jr. is playing okay. And, we're not talking Deion Sanders here, but we're also not talking Waswa Sirwanga. So now, under the cover of darkness, into the Packers game. What? Jordan's like, yeah, Mackay?
Right.
Is that you?
Yeah.
Mackay, how you been? Oh, wait, you're going to play the entire game? So now he's looking at 5, waiting for him to come out. He's not coming out. I'll never forget when Andre Carter, 55, came in. And Love got to the line of scrimmage, and he's looking around before the ready, and he looks at 55 and stares. It had just 2-3 seconds, and that's what you need to get the quarterback a little bit off. He just looked at him one time, and it had to have been, who are you?
Yeah.
Where'd this number come from? Holy cow,
You want an example? When I try to figure out how the slot receiver is going to do against the Vikings, I don't have to sweat it really this week, but trying to figure out who's going to have a slot assignment, it's baffling because you can't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's going to be they're going to roll Byron Murphy in.
Wow.
Other times it's going to be Josh Metellus.
Okay, so
then
into
it's
the
going to be
season,
Cam Bynum.
into the season, we were and we chatted it out, man, and we saw it in training camp and practice. All right, we're going to go base. We're going to have Byron Murphy over here, and then a Caleb Evans over here. Then Blackman's going to come in. Murphy's going to go inside and run the inside a majority of the time. That's not the case?
It hasn't been the case. Wow. They've been super creative and using lots of different ways to pick up slot receivers, and it's really just indicative of the defense as a whole. Opposing teams can't scheme for any one particular look because Brian Flores is changing all the time.
Right.
The unpredictability, and it creates all kinds of pandemonium for the opposing offense, and man, is that refreshing. It's so much fun to watch.
It's the Friday football feast at Buffalo Wild Wings Elk River. Speaking of Elk River and the Elks, good luck against Andover in the 5A section championship. Seriously, best of luck to we got some parents of some of the players in here, so covenant claps for all of you for getting even this far, and good luck against a very good Andover team. At least that's what I heard weeks ago. The feast continues around the corner at FM 100.3.
KFAN, The Fan.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Dan from Morgan. Just trying to finish up some tillage today before the weekend. Got family coming in for deer camp from South Dakota, Nebraska, Texas, New York, Minnesota. We're going to party, fill the freezer, and cheer on the Vikings. Super excited about Jaron. I think he's going to take us all the way. Skol Vikings.
Hey, PA Charch. Just sitting in here in my S690 combine, picking corn. We're hauling it to the ethanol plant, Lake Crystal, Minnesota. Been putting in 16, 18, 20-hour days just to get the corn out of the field. Maybe he'll be done by Sunday and we'll be able to watch Jaron Hall get his first win as a Viking. Skol Vikes.
Scrub the floors for me, and you best believe she'll hardly get a bit.
Tractor Talkbacks, and thanks for fielding those, Nordo, and thanks for everybody not only leaving them at the free iHeartRadio app today, but during the course of the week. A football feast at Buffalo Wild Wings Elk River, awaiting the arrival of main man G, Gabe Henderson, who will be here shortly.
As I'm walking through the crowd and talking to all the people that have come out to the feast, the question I keep getting, Paul, over and over and over again is, what does this mean for the future of Kirk Cousins? And is Kirk Cousins more or less likely to remain a Viking, given the current situation? And where are the motivations for this team as well? And what I hear a lot of people almost universally seem to want Kirk Cousins to come back. They don't want that to have been the last play of his Viking career. And to get that done, it seems like you're going to Kirk's got one big contract left in him. At age 37, he's got one big deal left. Kirk's not signing for 1 year. He's not signing for 2 years. He wants to get his last big deal. It needs to be 3 or 4 years, and he's going to be highly compensated. that makes it a little bit tricky for a team that needs to re-sign Justin Jefferson, Daniil Hunter, Christian Darrisaw, all coming with big contracts because they're very good players.
Right.
Of course, you want big players. You want to have the opportunity to pay your best players big money because they're great. But it makes it a little more complicated. Vikings are probably heading to somewhere around pick 20 of the draft. We don't know. There's still obviously a lot of time to hold second half of the season. That doesn't put you in a position to go get a sure thing quarterback. So I think the likelihood is Kirk does come back. I want to believe he's going to come back. I don't want that to be the last play of his Vikings career. It's him limping off the field and clapping on the sidelines. I would like to have another run with Kirk because we really have seen, Paul, in these last month of play, we've finally seen what can happen when the whole thing comes together.
How good was he playing? I mean, from Chicago, well, we had the pick six at Carolina, and then things got gradually better. At Chicago, he made some key plays later in the game, but I thought he was way too conservative in the first game without Jefferson. But that's okay. They got the money. Maybe that was the approach of knowing what it
might
would
have been.
Yeah, it'd be like the only way we can lose
is if we give the game away.
If we go -5.
Right.
We can go -4 and probably win by 1. Let's just not go -5.
Yeah.
But then from the 49ers game through some of those passes to Jordan Addison in the Green Bay Packers game, I mean, our guy was on fire.
Really was.
So when it comes to Achilles recovery, and
we followed this pretty closely, right? So Cam Akers reset the expectation has typically been a year. Or so, a little less than a year to get really back to full mobility.
Yeah.
Now, as a quarterback, you don't really need the full mobility, and that wasn't his game anyway. So, really ought to be ready by next training camp, almost certainly. But Cam Akers reset the whole thing when he had he blew out his Achilles in, I think, late August, and then came back and played at the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And so that turned the whole timetable on. But he had a different procedure than the traditional one that had been done. Now Aaron Rodgers is trying to reset even that. They're talking about Aaron Rodgers coming back in December from his week 1 Achilles. Now, he also had this new procedure. What we don't know is whether the orthopedic surgeon from TCO who worked on Kirk gave him the traditional Achilles or this newfangled Achilles that seems to let guys come back way faster. Don't know that yet. But Aaron Rodgers, it's all been, every report we've had is way ahead of schedule. This year is a possibility for him to come back. That could actually end up happening, and we know that Aaron Rodgers called Kirk,
right?
And which was super cool, by the way, that Aaron reached out to Kirk. I assume Rodgers talked about the procedure that he's had, his recovery so far, where he is. Rodgers is doing light practice. I mean, there's
really
not practice, but he's
out there bouncing around, throwing it a little bit.
Yeah. So
on the Achilles.
On the Achilles. So, I mean, he's already the timetable's really fast on Rodgers.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know, and nobody's said yet. Then it's HIPAA. We can't ask. I guess. What kind of procedure did Kirk have?
Right.
Did he have the same one Rodgers had, or did he have the old school fangled one that we know takes about a year? I'd love to find out, but the reality is at this stage of the season, Kirk's not coming back this year no matter how far the Vikings go in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It'll be next year, and he should be ready to go at the start of the season.
Why are you quasi or low-key negative on the Ezra Cleveland trade?
Because of the equity. I really feel like, Ezra is he's a quality, he's an NFL starter grade guard.
Right.
The league is so bereft of offensive line talent.
Yep.
It felt like you could have got more. And at some point, it's just worth having the guy on roster in case Dalton Reisner, if he gets hurt. For the 6th round pick that we got, I would have rather had him for depth.
But they have Chris Reed, who they like. I mean, he just came back from injury.
Just came back.
And, I'm not going to pretend to be Dante Scarnecchia here or Alex Gibbs or Bill Callahan, like elite offensive line minds. But they've always liked Chris at guard. And, Ezra's set to become a free agent. So
right.
Ezra, it's so much of what Kwesi Adofo-Mensah's doing involves finding money in the offseason to have some free agency money and some pay Darrisaw, pay Jefferson, pay whomever money. And I think as of now, they're around 50, 49, something like that, which is pretty good. And
you're talking about $1 million under the cap?
Yes.
Yeah.
And to fortify the covenant in a way where, and I'm certainly, not saying this is exactly how it's been over the years, but I mean, it's there would be the windows, the cliched windows.
Yeah.
It's where I don't think he necessarily wants to deal with the window. He just kind of, wants that window to stay open, and instead of having blinds that don't move and you don't get the cool breeze, well, he wants drapes.
Yeah.
So therefore, occasionally it's, that feels great. Wow. Oh, holy cow. It's raining outside. I got to close the window. So, awful analogy, but you understand what I'm saying is have money in the off season, have money to pay yours, get younger. And I can't say Reed, plays into that with the getting younger part, but absolutely with the money part. And then they like Chris Reed.
Yeah. The difference to me between Chris Reed and Ezra Cleveland is Cleveland started, 50 straight games.
No
He
doubt.
just knows everything he needs to do.
No doubt.
It's got all the synchronicity with all the other players on the line.
Yeah.
And clearly, you're 100% right that Kwesi knew we weren't going to sign Ezra Cleveland, or
Right.
they never would have made this deal.
Yeah.
So they knew that going in, and I'm sure that was a huge part of it, Paul. But I just sort of I don't know. I'm still optimistic about this season. I still want this season to go well.
If you're going to trade Ezra because you're not going to pay him, and you get a sixth?
Sixth.
What more do you possibly think you can get?
Well, for a starting grade guard, I thought they could have got. I'm not talking a first, second, third round.
And he's coming off injury and hasn't played in like 3 weeks.
Right. But he is healthy right now.
Yeah.
He could go start a game right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just think I think there's some.
I understand what
it's
you're
the
saying.
opportunity. If Dalton Reiser goes down next game, we're going to wish he was here. And, God forbid he does. But, I just would have liked to have had the flexibility. And, by the way, the position flexibility that Ezra gives you, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's Paul Charchian, and I'm Paul Allen. You are listening to the Friday Football at Buffalo Wild Wings Elk River, and it's quite festive.